Hey, what's going on, YouTubers? It's Mark Methods. Today we're going to be doing the inverter coolant and the engine coolant change on a 2013 Prius C. All you're going to need is 2 gallons of Toyota 50/50 coolant. You got to get the super long life antifreeze. This doesn't come in a concentrate. You do have to get it in the 50/50. You just need a funnel. Little bit of vacuum hose. This will make it cleaner when you're doing the drain. You don't have to use this. I just happen to have some of this 1/4 inch lying around. Just need a ratchet, a couple extensions, and a 10 mil socket. Don't forget your gloves. All right, let's get to it. All right, so let's refer back to the owner's manual for the coolant capacity and what type of coolant we should be using. On page 498, we will find that we need 5.6 quarts for our engine, 1.7 quarts for our inverter, and we should be using Toyota Super Long Life coolant. This is about 2 gallons of coolant. You should have a little extra as long as you don't spill too much. I do suggest using the Toyota factory coolant, as some of these coolants can cause some major issues down the road if you plan on keeping the car for a long time, but that's just me. So before we get started, you want to make sure that your engine isn't too hot and the coolant isn't too hot. So if you squeeze these hoses, you should feel that they're soft and there isn't any pressure inside. Now if we take this cap off, we'll be able to allow this to vent while we drain. And the same can be done for the inverter over here. All right, so now we can go underneath and start draining. I'm gonna remove this cowling. This is gonna be in the way. It's just held on by a few 10mm bolts. So let's get that removed. So this is the petcock for the inverter. If you want to just drain the inverter, this is all you're going to be opening up. It does have a little nipple on the end of it that you can put a hose on if you want. It's fairly simple. Twist left. Now we've drained the inverter, we need to move on to the radiator. This is the drain for the radiator. This is a stop ring right here, this little metal piece. Basically what's going to happen is you remove the stop ring, this moves forward and down, and then the coolant will come out of this nipple right here. You will want to put a hose on it, otherwise it's going to drain all over this unit right here. So you just take a flathead, kind of just wedge it in. That'll pop your stop ring off. Don't lose that. I have a 1/4 inch piece of vacuum hose that I'm going to use to kind of slip over the nipple of this. Okay. And once that's draining into your receptacle, pull down, just like that. And that'll start draining your engine radiator coolant. Get our funnel out, and we're gonna get our coolant. Now when you want to pour this sideways to prevent air cavitation and then it burping up. See a nice smooth pour out of it. Now there's going to be some air pockets inside of the inverter system and your radiator. We're going to need to burp those out a little bit. There's a cycle that we're going to have to go through after we're done filling everything up. Well, it's gurgling. Let's pour some into the actual radiator. I may need to hold this as my funnel is a little bit too big. I'm going to be careful on the pour. Now there are like coolant funnels, like no spill ones. Like I do have one, I can't find it. I had to order another one. But they have a little stopper that you push into the middle. If this once it gets too full, and then you can take it out without making a mess. In case you get into a situation like what I just put myself into. So I'll just squeeze some of these hoses and hope to God I can get an air pocket out of it. It's tough to see, but I have a little bit of coolant at the end of my funnel, and now it's going to spill out when I pull this away, which stinks. Let's see if I can get that to balance. Yep, that did not work. Okay. As you can see, that's a little overfilled. Now the system's going to take 2 gallons. I've only poured in 1 so far. There's a little bit even left in this. Which I'm just going to top this off. All right, before we start to bleed out the inverter, I'm going to pop open the coolant overflow. I'm just going to top this off. All right, now it helps if you have a second person, but you can do it by yourself. I'm just going to key on, and what's going to happen is I'm going to drop the level of the inverter's coolant, because when you key on, it'll cycle it. So don't let it go too low because you don't want it to cavitate and damage the pump. You'll see the level drop pretty quickly. Let's try that again. Okay. Stop. So according to Toyota, the coolant level should be about 20 millimeters from this ridge over here. All right, so now I'm gonna go drive the car around and see if our overflow tank loses some coolant and if these hoses get nice and hot. But let's take this for a spin and see how that looks when we get back. So took it out for our spin. Our hose is pressurized well. Coolant levels didn't drop too far on the bottle, the overflow bottle. The inverter looks good. All our levels are good. I'm gonna put a link up, a card up for you guys to click on if you need to do like the engine oil, the engine filter, cabin filter, and I also show you how to reset the maintenance light in the video that I'm listing around the screen somewhere. Anyways, if this video helped you guys out, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. All right, so I'll see you guys in the next one.